I'm curious if, like me, in your life you've asked yourself the question, why am I not feeling good about my life? Why am I not feeling good about what I'm doing? Why does it feel so stressful and so painful and so hard, so challenging sometimes? Why do I feel such a sense of desperation almost? Like there's this huge invisible block and I don't know how to move it away. I don't know why I can't stopping myself from choosing what I really want or being able to create what I really want. I've asked these questions a lot of myself because I've certainly been through a lot of times where I didn't feel good about what I was experiencing in my life. And for me, I want to invite you to think about that perhaps we are creating something that is not meant for us, or that is not in alignment, or does not resonate with our energy, does not suit us. It's not what we're meant to do. It's not what we really love to do. Because I've been really exploring creativity more and more over the past few years. And I've come to realize that all my life I had no idea that how much creativity was happening in my life. The fact that my choices were all creativity in motion, all in a sense a play of improvisation in so many ways. But I was actually following along and trying my best to follow along the script of what I was copying in others or what I was being taught everywhere. There's all these messages in school, on the TV, from your parents. And I've come to realize as I've thought a lot about my own journey that it was because I was trying to create what they were telling me to, right? And the fact was, a lot of what I was trying to force myself into doing, because those were the expectations of pretty much everyone, right? Like go to school, and then, I mean, for me, it's there's more of a obvious path or direction, being Asian, being Chinese, but but so many people go through that. Like I went through it so intensely that without understanding why, I didn't feel good about that whole direction. And now that I've, over my life, more and more learned how to create more of what I want and realizing how much creativity is happening, like all my choices are actually creativity in a sense. And I like to, invite you to think about just how creative you are. And if you're feeling blocked, if you're feeling not good about your life, if you're not able to really enjoy your life, like, and I believe now more and more that we can choose to start to enjoy more and more of our life and learn to love it more and more in all aspects, in all areas, in all ways over time, because I'm experiencing myself more and more. But I'm realizing for so many years I was trapped. I felt trapped. I felt stuck in this cycle of letting myself down, of not being able to follow their rules, and whoever that may be, because we all live such different lives and we all connected with different people, and there's been different kinds of rules, but there's been a lot of patterns that are similar. So for me, realizing, and I believe we can all see this, how things always change, how we realized 10 years ago there were things that we were all choosing that was not the best. It's so obvious nowadays about our collective choices and what we've been all influenced to choose. So I just like to invite you to think about if there are areas in your life, if there are um, aspects of your life that doesn't feel good, that you're resisting, that you wish you can change but don't know quite how. I would like to invite you to think, is there a deeper layer that I'm not connected to or conscious of, is what I mean. You're always connected to all your layers. that is influencing my decisions and my direction? Am I not giving myself permission to be able to change my story about myself? That I'm trying to be what I think other people expect me to be, and therefore I put that expectation onto myself, but it's really not what is best for me and doesn't feel good, and it's not the right thing. So for me, over time I've realized if it doesn't feel good, if what I'm choosing, what I'm be pressuring myself, disciplining myself, forcing myself to choose, it's not feeling good, then I really have to look at that and also observe other people and how many people in this world are kind of forcing themselves to choose that, or are being forced to choose something that's not right. Because thinking about it, for me, we live in this one big pyramid scheme in so many of the societies around the world, and I feel it's becoming more clear and more obvious. If you know, there's so much good information, of course, misinformation, but if you really think clearly and just observe about what's happening to the people in your life, for example, and I think you can start to see that truth that people are creating through their choices, their experience, their life. But now we're realizing there are so many forces, and to question just what I was following. What was why did it feel like just, I don't know, terrible in a sense? It's like desperate, or just doesn't, and that it doesn't have to be like that is big time what I'm more and more realizing. Because to realize that I'm creativity is realizing I can learn to create whatever I want. I can choose to create whatever I want. I can allow the creation of what is best for me, what is going to feel good for me. Because it is really a ride of life in many ways. And it's not about trying to grasp or control in a sense, but letting go and allowing yourself to be guided by how you feel, by your deeper wisdom, as I very much invite you to invite yourself to connect to. And for me, that's being able to just become more aware, to understand how you've been creating and why you've been creating what you have. And how does it feel? So if it feels good, if you are enjoying it, if it's nourishing for you, amazing. Keep going, right? But if it's not feeling good, if it feels more and more challenging, if the anxiety and the trepidation and the pressures, is starting to build and mount and is becoming staggering just how much there is to deal with, then I really like to invite you to consider that you can create something else, and you can very much even choose to create in a different way that allows yourself to be able to start the process of shifting the experiences, the way you're experiencing, in the ways that you want. No matter where you're starting, whether it's desperation or just so much stress and bills, or sadness and grief, combination of so many of these, realize you can learn to start to bring self-care, nourishment, um, self-communication. Start to be able to learn to treat yourself and deal with yourself in a different way. It's like, for me, I see the pattern of what we observe in our parents, what we experience in the first workplaces that we come into, for many in our teens, or our 20s, if some are more focused in education and what have you. That pattern of this boss and disciplining or controlling the employee, and we take that inwards into ourselves, and we control our own creativity and forcing ourselves to believe that this is the only path. Like what I believe with, I needed to go to school. I needed to go to this governmental school, and I needed to go to this post-secondary governmental institution, and I needed to learn. Well, for me, it was like towards, business, finance, lawyer, doctor, prestige. And and I believe I was needed to do that, and that is just not the right thing for me, just for me, and just for me to realize that, so I can choose something differently. So I just like to invite you to consider that you can just bring awareness, start to be willing to understand how your choices are if you choose to see it, it's creativity. You've just been taught, or you've taught yourself, or you've just been, because the pattern is so ingrained since infancy, since very young ages, of this following mm, what what you deem is best to follow, right? It shifts over time. You think about the teenage years and all the things we're trying to fit into and be validated through, right? All for me is so much of pop culture and just fitting in with other people, my peers around my age. And then as it shifts, as you get older, that starts to shift. So what I'm saying is the creative process is realizing those influences can start to shift, and have creative control over how you shift your influences, who you choose to see as what you want to experience. And you can actually be creative with creating something new for yourself, believing, even if there's very few examples in your life of what you want to experience, that, believe me, you can create what you really want to experience. It's a process, for sure. And it definitely takes courage, curiosity, right? The courage to be kind to yourself, the courage to follow your curiosity. I talk about kindness because that's very important along the path. And certainly not talking about the meek or people-pleasing kind of kindness. I'm talking about the kind and the compassion and the fierce compassion to really know what you need and to really be willing to do the things that you know are going to take good care of your energy, because it's your energy that you create from. So consider that. I invite you to become aware, to start to understand that all your choices is a form of creativity and creates you and affects, influences, creates your energy that you create with. Like, think about your diet. And I definitely know when I was eating a diet, or when I eat a diet that's not good for my energy, my body, that challenged my ability to create what I really want to experience. And all my choices, my activities, how I spend my time, what I'm watching on TV, who I'm choosing to spend time with, the environments and time in nature. Boy, oh boy, for me, definitely realizing more time I spend in nature, the more it nourishes my energy, my creative energy, my natural energy, the natural flow of my creativity. Like I'm standing on bare feet, because I'm blessed to have a backyard, and I'm blessed to have learned that it's so important to be grounded, and it's one of the best ways to feel the earth. So I'm talking, all these choices is creates me. I get to choose what my experience is more and more, and I've learned that, and I've chosen to do it over time. So I invite you to start to believe that you can learn to create, to choose, uh, start towards what you really want to be experiencing. And life will keep inviting you to feel into what you're creating. So I'd just like to invite you to consider that. Creativity, how all your actions, but where did you learn that? I realized I learned so much from my parents. I didn't realize how much of my mother and of my father I had in me. Even though my father was not around at all for most of my life, for about 20% of it, he was around, kind of thing. And my mom was not around either emotionally. She was not emotionally available. So, that's what gave me the chance to realize I was copying that. I was witnessing them and copying so much of those patterns with me. And then of course all the friends, important relationships, the schools, the relationship in the schools, the way you go through school, you know, all that has a great effect. What you start to watch, what you start to love, big time affects your decisions and how you see yourself, what you choose. This is, you know, for me, yeah, all those things. You know, you start to watch shows, and I now realize that over time, it goes into my unconscious, and I'm just totally influenced by all the things I experience and watch and take into the content. So, and over time, it has led me to see how we are all creating through our choices and how different kinds of people create differently based upon their environments, their influences. And for me, it's just as I began to become aware and start to understand and start to see that, I was able to just start to perceive more of that in me. So I invite you to know that as you become more aware of how you are creating with your choices, and that's in what you choose to think about, what you choose to believe, which thoughts you choose to take, I don't know, seriously, or try to create into reality, or hold on to, right? All those areas. And as you become more aware of the fact that you are creating through all these influences that you perhaps forgotten about long ago, that you learned the pattern of mimicking the habit, um, then you can start to explore a different way of creating and find different examples of creators, right? That's the beautiful thing about us humans and learning from each other. We're all so influenced by each other. It's how we move through life, by finding influences and learning and taking those influences internally in ways and influencing others, right? We're all influencing each other, no matter whether we see it or not. And we can take a look at each other and see the different examples of people that are choosing to use their creativity or use their influence in different ways with other people. And for me, I totally believe that we all have a unique ability, gift, genius that wants to come out through our own creativity. So I simply invite you to consider, if you don't feel good about what you're creating in your life, know that you can learn to create what you feel good about. And it can just start. The best way to go about it is just baby steps, exploration. And when the great leaps come, you'll know them and you can choose to take them. So yeah. Let me know if you find this useful. Let me know what you thought of it, and if it brings up any thoughts, and if it's inviting you to consider if there was something that you are realizing you've been creating from through a story, a certain person's example, the schools, broad, like, you know, messaging, the government, the media, what you think life is, what media has taught you life is, right? This expectations of go to school, get a job, get a suit if you're a guy, right? Get engaged, get married, get the kid, get the house, get the car, do all the things that everyone else is doing, right? We just kind of, I certainly was there. Um, so I'm curious what this may bring up for you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I invite you to notice how you get to create the rest of your day by what you choose, right? Like, think, you can literally choose anything for the rest of your day. But of course, watch how the mind focuses on, but no, it's only all these things I can choose. Yeah, there is that understanding as well, that there is a limitation based upon where you are, but I ask you to consider that and see how, observe how you choose to create the rest of your day. And through that, become aware of how you are creating your life. Take good care.